Taemin sat alone at the far corner of the cantina, nursing his third cup of bitter alien coffee. The liquid tasted like metal and disappointment, but it was cheap and kept him awake. Around him, the galactic mercenary hub buzzed with activity. As beings from dozens of species made deals, shared stories, and counted their credits, at the table nearest to him, a group of Vorthek mercenaries laughed loudly. Their crystal bodies caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the walls. One of them was telling a story about how he had single-handedly destroyed an entire pirate base using his natural ability to shoot energy beams from his hands. And then, the Vorthek said, his voice ringing like wind chimes, I simply channeled the power of my homeworld's core and melted their entire fleet into slag. The other mercenaries cheered and raised their drinks. Taemin had heard this story before. The Vorthek had actually called for backup 3 times during that mission, but no one seemed to remember that part. Tae-Min looked down at his own hands. They were scarred from years of fighting, but they couldn't shoot energy beams or bend metal or phase through walls. They were just human hands, and in the galactic community, that meant they were practically useless. His communication device beeped. A message from Captain Crix, his latest employer. Taemin opened it with little hope. Human, mission complete. Payment transferred. Services no longer required. That was it. No thank you. No job well done? Just a dismissal as cold as the void. Between stars. Tae-Min closed his eyes and remembered the mission. It had been a hostage rescue on a mining station. The hostage-takers were well armed and had rigged the entire station with explosives. The other mercenaries had wanted to blast their way in. But Taemin had suggested a different approach. He had spent hours studying the station's blueprints, learning the patrol patterns and finding weak points in their security. Then he had crawled through maintenance shafts for 6 hours to reach the control room. While the other mercenaries created a distraction at the front entrance, Taemin had disabled the explosives and freed the hostages through a forgotten cargo airlock. The mission had been a complete success with 0 casualties. But to Captain Crix, it had just been grunt work that any species could have done. Tae-Min stood up and walked to the job board. The holographic display showed dozens of available contracts, but most were marked with species requirements. Vorthek. Energy manipulation required. Hive collective telepathy essential. Luminar coalition phase shifting necessary. The few jobs that didn't require special abilities were the ones nobody wanted: cargo hauling, station cleaning, equipment maintenance. The kind of work that paid barely enough to keep a mercenary fed and housed. A familiar voice called out behind him. Well, if it isn't the famous human mercenary. Taemin turned to see Vex, a Luminar Coalition energy being whose body looked like contained lightning. Vex was one of the more successful mercenaries on the station, and he never missed a chance to remind everyone of it. Still looking for real work, human? Vex asked, his voice crackling with electricity. Maybe you should try the civilian sector. I hear they need janitors on the agricultural worlds. Several other mercenaries laughed. Taemin felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his expression neutral. Getting angry would only prove their point about humans being primitive and emotional. I do fine, Taemin said simply. Fine? Vex floated closer, his energy form casting strange shadows. Last I heard, you were working for Crix on that mining station job. What did that pay? A few hundred credits. I made 50,000 last week. Stopping a corporate war. Taemin knew about that job. Vex had indeed stopped the war, but only after 3 planets had been bombed and millions of people had died. The Luminar Coalition method was always the same. Show up with overwhelming force and blast everything until the problem went away. Different approaches, Taemin said. Different results, Vex countered. When you can phase through solid matter and manipulate electromagnetic fields, you don't need to crawl through garbage chutes like a maintenance robot. The laughter around them grew louder. Taemin felt heat rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. He had learned long ago that fighting here would only get him banned from the station, and this was one of the few places where he could still find work. If you'll excuse me, Taemin said, turning back to the job board. Of course, Vex said, his voice dripping with false politeness. Don't let me keep you from your very important search for trash collection contracts. Taemin scrolled through the job listings, ignoring the continued laughter behind him. Most of the available work was exactly what Vex had mocked him for. Low-paying, dangerous jobs that the other species considered beneath them, but then something caught his eye. A contract that had been posted only an hour ago. The payment was listed as negotiable, extreme hazard pay available. The client was anonymous and the job description was vague. Retrieval mission, Outer Rim, high mortality rate expected. Previous contractors have not returned, humans accepted. Taemin read the posting 3 times. The last line was unusual. Most contracts either excluded humans entirely or didn't mention species requirements at all. This one specifically said humans were accepted, which was almost unheard of for a high-paying job. He looked at the location. Drakmore Prime.T-Min. Had heard whispers about Drakmore Prime. It was a fortress world in the Outer Rim, ruled by someone called the Dragon Queen. Ships that went there either came back empty or didn't come back at all. The planet was considered a death trap, which explained why the pay was so good, but what choice did he have? He had enough credits for maybe another week on the station. After that, he would have to take whatever work he could find, probably hauling cargo for a merchant, who would treat him like a piece of equipment. At least this job offered the possibility of real money. And if he died trying, well, that might be better than slowly starving while aliens laughed at him. Tae-Min selected the contract and pressed accept. The system asked for confirmation 3 times, warning him about the high mortality rate. He confirmed each time. A message appeared on his screen. Contract accepted. Report to Docking Bay 94 in 2 hours. Bring your own equipment and make final arrangements. Taemin looked around the cantina one more time. Vex was still entertaining his audience with stories of his latest victories. The Vorthak mercenaries were arguing about who had the most impressive energy manipulation abilities. None of them paid any attention to the human in the corner who had just accepted a suicide mission. Maybe that was for the best. If he somehow survived this job, he would have enough credits to be selective about his next contracts. And if he didn't survive, at least he wouldn't have to listen to their laughter anymore. Taemin finished his coffee and headed for the door. He had 2 hours to prepare for what might be his last mission. Taemin's ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Drakmore system. The small cargo vessel he had borrowed was nothing special, but it was fast and quiet. He had learned long ago that survival often depended more on not being seen than on having the biggest guns. The system looked dead from space. 3 planets orbited a dying red star, and only one showed signs of life. Drakmore Prime hung in the void like a giant ember, its surface covered in volcanic activity and strange crystal formations that glowed with their own light. His ship's computer chimed with an incoming message. It was from his anonymous employer, transmitted through several relay stations to hide its origin. Target confirmed. Drakmore Prime, the Dragon Queen Sora has stolen advanced Luminar Coalition technology. Retrieve the device and bring it to the coordinates provided. Payment will be transferred upon delivery. Attached to the message was a data packet with everything the employer knew about the planet. Taemin read through it carefully, his expression growing more grim with each page. Drakmore Prime was a fortress world. The entire planet was covered in defensive systems that could destroy a battle fleet. The Dragon Queen ruled from a massive palace built into the side of an active volcano. Her armies were said to be made up of dragon-born warriors who could breathe fire and fly without ships. But the most disturbing part was the casualty reports. Over the past 5 years, 17 different military expeditions had tried to take the planet. None had returned. The largest force had been a full Vorthak battle group with 30 ships and 10,000 soldiers. They had been destroyed so completely that not even debris remained. Tae-Min scrolled through the intelligence reports about Sora herself. The Dragon Queen was described as the last of her kind, a species that had ruled this part of the galaxy thousands of years ago. Her people had supposedly been wiped out in a great war, but somehow she had survived. The reports claimed she was impossibly old, possibly immortal. She was said to be beautiful and terrible, with scales that shimmered like starlight and eyes that burned with ancient fire. Some accounts claimed she could kill with a look. Others that she could read minds and see the future. Tay-Min didn't believe in magic, but the casualty reports were real enough. 17 failed missions, thousands of dead soldiers. And now they were sending one human with a borrowed ship to succeed where entire armies had failed. He almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Almost. His ship's sensors detected movement near the planet. A patrol of dragonborn fighters was making a sweep of the outer system. Tay-Min watched them through his telescope. The ships were unlike anything he had seen before, more like living creatures than machines. They moved with organic grace, flowing through space like swimming fish. Tay-Min powered down his ship's engines and let it drift on momentum. The patrol passed within a few thousand kilometers without detecting him. He waited another hour to make sure they were gone, then began his approach to the planet. The stolen luminar technology was supposed to be in a research facility on the planet's northern continent. The facility was built into a mountain range and was heavily defended. According to the intelligence reports, it was where Sora conducted her experiments on captured alien technology. Tay-Min studied the facility's layout on his ship's display. It was a maze of tunnels and chambers carved directly into the rock. The main entrance was guarded by automated defense systems and dragonborn warriors. But there was a maintenance tunnel that led from an old mining operation to the facilities. Lower levels. It was the same approach he had used on the mining station. Find the path nobody expected, avoid the main defenses, and get in through the back door. The other mercenaries always mocked him for crawling through maintenance shafts. But it worked. As his ship entered the planet's atmosphere, Tay-Min felt the heat from the volcanic activity. The air was thick with ash and sulfur. His ship's sensors showed massive thermal readings from the planet's surface. This was not a world meant for most forms of life. He landed in a crater on the northern continent, about 50 kilometers from the research facility. The landing site was hidden from orbital sensors by the crater's walls and the constant volcanic activity. His ship's hull groaned as it settled on the unstable ground. Tay-Min suited up in his combat armor and checked his equipment one final time. He had brought his usual loadout, a rifle, a sidearm, explosives, and various infiltration tools. Against an army of dragonborn warriors, it seemed pitifully inadequate. The maintenance tunnel was exactly where the intelligence reports said it would be. It was carved into the side of a cliff face, hidden behind a curtain of volcanic steam. Tay-Min rappelled down the cliff and found the tunnel entrance. The tunnel was narrow and filled with pipes carrying superheated steam. The temperature inside was over 60 degrees Celsius. Tay-Min's suit's cooling system worked overtime to keep him from cooking inside his armor. He crawled through the tunnel for 3 hours, following the pipes toward the research facility. The tunnel branched and split dozens of times, but he stayed with the main steam line. It had to lead to the facility's power core. When he finally reached the facility's outer walls, Tay-Min was exhausted and dehydrated. But he had made it. The tunnel opened into a maintenance chamber filled with humming machinery. Through a grate in the floor, he could see into the facility's main laboratory. The stolen luminar technology was there, just as the intelligence reports had promised. It was a crystalline device about the size of a briefcase, glowing with contained energy. But it wasn't unguarded. Standing next to the device was a figure that made Tay-Min's blood run cold. She was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Her hair was long and black, and her eyes glowed like golden flames. Even through the grate, even in his exhausted state, Tay-Min knew he was looking at the Dragon Queen herself. Sora stood motionless beside the device, as if she was waiting for something. Or someone. As Tay-Min watched, Sora slowly turned her head and looked directly at the grate where he was hiding. Their eyes met through the metal slats, and she smiled. "Welcome, little warrior," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "I have been waiting for you." The arena of trials lay deep beneath Sora's palace, carved from living rock and lit by crystals that pulsed with inner fire. Taemin stood at the edge of the circular fighting ground, watching as ancient symbols glowed along the walls. The air hummed with power that made his teeth ache. "Every being who would learn our ways must face this trial," Sora explained from her throne above the arena. "It is not a test of strength or speed, but of understanding. You must defeat not just your opponent, but the limitations others have placed upon you." Across the arena, Hyun-woo stretched and prepared for battle. He had removed his armor and stood bare-chested, his dark scales catching the crystal light. The man who had once been human moved with a predator's grace, every gesture controlled and purposeful. "He looks different now," Taemin observed. "He is allowing his true nature to show," Sora replied. "Humans hide their fire behind flesh and doubt. But here, in this sacred space, pretense falls away. You will see what you both truly are." Taemin checked his equipment one final time. His rifle was loaded, his sidearm ready, his combat knife sharp. Against Hyun-woo's transformed state, the weapons felt inadequate, but they were all he had. "You may begin," Sora announced. Hyun-woo moved faster than Taemin had expected. One moment he was standing across the arena, the next he was in the air, diving toward Taemin with claws extended. Taemin rolled aside, feeling the heat from Hyun-woo's passage scorch his armor. "Too slow," Hyun-woo called out, landing gracefully and spinning to face him. "You fight like you're still in that cantina, worried about what others think." Taemin raised his rifle and fired. The energy bolt passed through empty air as Hyun-woo seemed to blur and reappear several meters away. "Better," Hyun-woo said. "But you're still thinking like a human, limited, ordinary." The words stung because they echoed every insult Taemin had ever heard. He fired again, and again Hyun-woo avoided the shot with impossible speed. The transformed human was playing with him, demonstrating the gap between their abilities. "Is this what you want?" Hyun-woo asked, circling him like a hunting cat. "To always be the one who needs help? To always be the weak link? To always be dismissed?" Taemin switched to his sidearm, trying to track his opponent's movements. But Hyun-woo was too fast, too fluid. Every shot missed, every strategy failed. "You came here expecting to die?" Hyun-woo continued. "Because deep down you believe what they tell you. That humans are lesser, that you are powerless, that you don't belong." Heat rose in Taemin's chest. Not the warmth of anger, but something deeper. The fire Sora had spoken of burning brighter. With each harsh word, "I belong here," Taemin said, holstering his weapons. "Do you?" Hyun-woo laughed. "Then why do you fight like someone who expects to lose?" The question hit harder than any physical blow. Taemin realized that every move he had made, every strategy he had chosen, had been defensive. He was fighting not to win, but to avoid losing too badly. "Because that's what I was taught," Taemin admitted. "Every alien I've met, every employer I've worked for, every mission I've taken, they all expected me to fail, and I started believing them. And now?" Hyun-woo asked, pausing in his circling. Taemin felt the fire inside him grow stronger. Now untired of their expectations, he dropped his rifle and pulled out his combat knife. It was a simple weapon, no energy fields or exotic materials. Just sharp steel and human craftsmanship. A knife? Hyun-woo seemed genuinely surprised. "Against what I have become." "Against what you think you've become," Taemin corrected. "You're still human, Hyun-woo, and so am I." This time, Taemin attacked first. He moved forward with the knife, not trying to match Hyun-woo's supernatural speed, but using the arena's layout to his advantage. He forced the fight toward the crystal. Formations, where the uneven ground would limit his opponent's mobility. Hyun-woo met him with claws extended, but Taemin was ready. He ducked under the swipe and came up with his knife, scoring a shallow cut across Hyun-woo's ribs. The transformed human hissed and leaped back. "You cannot hurt me with such simple weapons," Hyun-woo said, but there was surprise in his voice. "Watch." Taemin replied. He pressed his attack. using every dirty trick he had learned in a lifetime of fighting beings stronger and faster than himself. He threw sand in Hyun-woo's eyes, used his armor's weight to his advantage, and exploited the arena's terrain. Most importantly, he stopped fighting like someone who expected to lose. He fought like someone who refused to accept defeat. The change was dramatic. Hyun-woo, who had been toying with him before, suddenly found himself on the defensive. Taemin's attacks weren't faster or stronger, but they were unpredictable and relentless. How? Hyun-woo gasped, dodging a knife thrust that would have opened his throat. I'm not fighting your power, Taemin explained, pressing forward. I'm fighting your assumptions. You expect me to be weak, so you leave yourself open. You expect me to give up, so you don't guard against desperation? He feinted left, then spun right, bringing his knife around in an arc that forced Hyun-woo to leap backward. The transformed human's heel caught on a crystal formation, and he stumbled. Tae-min was on him instantly, knife at his throat. Yield, he said quietly. Hyun-woo stared up at him, golden eyes wide with shock. You. You actually won. I stopped losing, Tae-min corrected. There's a difference. Above them, Sora began to applaud. The sound echoed through the arena like crystal bells ringing in celebration. Magnificent, she called out. You have passed the first test, little warrior, but there is more to learn. Tae-min helped Hyun-woo to his feet. The transformed human was smiling now, the competitive tension gone. I have been alone for so long, Hyun-woo said. I forgot what it felt like to fight beside another human. Even fighting against you reminded me of who I used to be. Who you still are, Tae-min said. Scales and claws don't change that. Sora descended from her throne, moving with that same fluid grace. The trial is not over, she announced. You have proven you can overcome external limitations. Now you must face the deeper test. The crystals around the arena began to glow. Brighter, the symbols on the walls pulsed with increasing intensity. Taemin felt the fire inside him respond, burning hotter than before. What deeper test? He asked. Sora placed her hand on his chest, directly over his heart. The test of accepting what you truly are? Not what others say you are, not what you fear you might be, but what you actually are. The fire inside him blazed like a star being born. Taemin gasped as power flooded through him. Not foreign energy, but something that had always been there, waiting to be acknowledged. You are not powerless, Sora whispered. You never were. You are a human being, and that is the most powerful thing you can be. The arena dissolved around them, replaced by visions of burning light and infinite possibility. Taemin saw himself, as Sora saw him, not weak, not ordinary, not limited by the opinions of others. He saw the fire that burned within every human heart. The refusal to accept defeat. The determination to keep fighting when all hope was lost. The ability to find solutions where none existed. It was not magic. It was not supernatural power. It was something far more valuable, the unbreakable human spirit. When the visions faded, Taemin found himself standing in the arena again. But he felt different, stronger, not because he had gained new abilities, but because he had finally accepted the abilities he had always possessed. Welcome to your true self, Sora said, smiling. Now you are ready to learn what the galaxy truly needs. Taemin looked at his hands. They were still human hands, scarred and ordinary, but now he knew that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. The grate beneath Taemin dissolved like sugar in rain. He fell through empty air and landed hard on the laboratory floor, his armor clanking against the stone. Before he could move, shapes emerged from the shadows around the chamber. Dragonborn warriors surrounded him. They were tall and lean, with scales that caught the light like polished metal. Their eyes glowed with the same golden fire as their queen, and each carried weapons that hummed with energy. Tae-min reached for his rifle, but found his hands wouldn't obey him. Some invisible force held him in place, not crushing or painful, but absolutely immovable. He could only watch as the Dragon Queen approached. Sora was even more impressive up close. She moved with fluid grace, her feet barely touching the ground. Her scales weren't just on her skin, but seemed to be part of her, creating patterns that shifted and changed as she walked. She was beautiful in a way that made Taemin's chest tight and his breathing shallow. "You may release him," Sora said. To her warriors, "He will not attack me." The invisible force holding Taemin vanished. He flexed his fingers, feeling control return to his body. His hand moved toward his weapon, then stopped. The Dragon Queen watched him with those burning eyes, and somehow he knew she was right. "He wouldn't attack her. How did you know I was coming?" Taemin asked. Sora smiled, and it was like watching sunrise over a mountain. "I have been watching the galaxy for many years, little warrior. I see the patterns. I know when something interesting is about to happen." She gestured to the stolen device. "This trinket was never the real prize. It is bait, nothing more. The Luminar Coalition created it specifically to be stolen, to draw potential champions to my world." "Champions?" Taemin's mind raced. "You mean the other mercenaries who came here?" "They were not champions," Sora said, her voice becoming colder. "They were conquerors. They came with weapons and threats, seeking to take what they believed was theirs by right. They brought armies and warships, thinking that raw power would be enough." She walked to a wall covered in crystalline formations. Each crystal contained a frozen image, ships being destroyed, soldiers falling, entire fleets turning to ash in space. "I gave them the same gift I give all conquerors," Sora continued. "I showed them the futility of their approach. Power without wisdom is nothing. Strength without understanding is weakness." Taemin looked at the images of destruction. "You killed them all?" "I defended my world," Sora said simply. "But you are different, little warrior. You came alone, in a borrowed ship, with weapons that could not threaten a child. You crawled through maintenance tunnels instead of blasting through the front door. You show wisdom where others showed only arrogance." She turned back to him, and Taemin felt those golden eyes looking deep into his soul. "Tell me, why did you accept this mission?" Taemin thought about lying, about making up some noble reason. But something in Sora's gaze made deception impossible. "Because I had no choice. Because I'm tired of being dismissed and mocked. Because I'd rather die trying than live as a joke." Sora nodded slowly. "Honesty. Another rare quality among your species visitors. The others always claim to be acting for the greater good, or for peace, or for justice. But you admit you came for yourself. Is that wrong?" Taemin asked. "It is honest," Sora replied. "And honesty is the foundation of all true strength." She gestured to one of her warriors, who stepped forward. This one looked different from the others. His scales were darker and his features seemed almost human. "This is Han-Wu," Sora said. "He came to my world as a child, the sole survivor of a research expedition that went wrong. I raised him as my own, taught him our ways, showed him the power that lies dormant in your species." Han-Wu bowed to Taemin. "Welcome, brother," he said in perfect human language. "It has been many years since I have seen another of our kind." Taemin stared at the man. Han-Wu looked human, but there was something else there. A presence, a power that made the air around him shimmer with heat. "You're human," Taemin said. "I was," Han-Wu replied. "Now I am something more." "As you could be, if you choose to see what the Dragon Queen sees in you." Sora moved to stand between them. "Your species fascinates me, little warrior. The others in this galaxy are limited by their nature. The Vorthak can only channel energy. The Hive Collective can only share thoughts. The Luminar Coalition can only manipulate matter. But humans ... Humans can become anything." "That's not true," Taemin protested. "Humans don't have any special abilities. We're just ordinary." "Ordinary?" Sora laughed, and the sound was like music played on crystal bells. "You crawled through pipes heated to temperatures that would kill most species. You infiltrated a facility that has defeated armies. You stand in my presence without cowering or begging. You call this ordinary?" She walked to a viewing window that looked out over the volcanic landscape. "The other species see only what you lack. They do not see what you possess." They see no energy manipulation, no telepathy, no matter phasing. They do not see the fire that burns within you. What fire? Taemin asked. Sora turned back to him and her eyes blazed brighter. The fire of will, the fire of determination. The fire that says, I will not give up, I will not surrender, I will find a way. It is the same fire that once burned in my people, before we transcended our physical forms. She gestured to the walls around them. This palace, this world, these defenses, they are all built from will made manifest. Every stone placed by determination, every crystal grown from refusal to accept defeat. My people learned to make their will into reality, and so can yours. Taemin felt something stirring in his chest. It wasn't warmth exactly, but something deeper. A recognition, as if Sora was pointing out something he had always known but never acknowledged. You came here expecting to die, Sora continued. But you came anyway. You have spent your life being told you are lesser, but you continue to fight. You accept impossible missions because you refuse to accept that anything is truly impossible. That is the fire I speak of. She moved closer, and Taemin could feel heat radiating from her skin. I offer you a choice, little warrior. You can take the device and leave, complete your mission, collect your payment, return to your life of being dismissed and mocked. Or you can stay and learn what you truly are. And if I stay? Sora smiled. Then you will discover that the galaxy has been underestimating humanity for far too long. And when you are ready, you will help me prepare for what is coming. What's coming? Sora's expression grew serious. The ancient darkness that destroyed my people's physical forms, it sleeps now, but it will wake soon. And when it does, the galaxy will need champions who understand that true power comes from within. She extended her hand toward him. Choose, little warrior, but choose knowing that either path will change you forever. Taemin looked at her outstretched hand, then at Hyeonwoo, then at the device that was supposed to be his mission objective. He thought about the cantina, about Vex's mocking laughter, about Captain Crix's cold dismissal. Then he thought about the fire Sora claimed to see in him. The fire he had always felt but never understood. The fire that had driven him to crawl through maintenance shafts and accept impossible missions and keep fighting when everyone told him he was worthless. Tae-min reached out and took Sora's hand. Her skin was warm like sunlight, and when their fingers touched, he felt that fire inside him burned brighter than ever before. I choose to stay, he said. Sora's smile could have lit up the darkest void. Then let us begin your education, my equal. Sora led Taemin through corridors he had not seen before, deeper into the palace than any living being had been permitted to go. The walls here were not carved stone, but something that looked like crystallized starlight, pulsing with soft rhythms. That matched his heartbeat. Where are we going? Taemin asked. To the Hall of Memory, Sora replied, where the truth of my people rests and where you will understand why you are here. They passed through a doorway that seemed to be made of solid light. Beyond it lay a vast chamber that defied the laws of physics. The ceiling stretched up into infinity, filled with what looked like living stars. The floor was a mirror-smooth surface that reflected not their bodies, but something deeper. This is impossible, Taemin breathed. This is what becomes possible. When will becomes reality, Sora said. When a species learns to make their determination into substance. As they walked deeper into the hall, shapes began to appear in the air around them. They were translucent, like ghosts made of golden light, but Taemin could see them clearly. They were dragonborn, but different from Hyeonwoo or Sora's warriors. These beings seemed to be made of pure energy, their forms shifting and flowing like living fire. My people, Sora said softly, or what they have become. One of the golden figures approached them. It was tall and majestic, with features that reminded Taemin of Sora herself. When it spoke, its voice resonated through the chamber like distant thunder. So the human comes at last, the figure said. We have waited long for this moment. You knew I was coming? Taemin asked. We knew someone like you would come, the figure replied. We have been watching your species since you first reached for the stars. You carry the spark we once possessed. Sora moved to stand beside the golden figure. This is my ancestor, Kande, who ruled our people during the height of our power. He will explain what you need to know. Kande gestured, and the air around them filled with images. Taman saw a galaxy that looked different from the one he knew. Stars burned brighter, planets were more vibrant, and space itself seemed alive with possibility. Long ago, Kande began, our people ruled not through force, but through understanding. We had learned that true power comes from within, from the strength of will and the refusal to accept limitation. We could reshape matter with our thoughts, travel between stars with our determination, and defend our worlds with our united spirit. The images shifted, showing dragon-born cities that floated in space, held together by nothing but collective will. Taman watched in wonder as these beings accomplished feats that made current alien technology look primitive. But power without wisdom is dangerous, Kande continued. And even we were not immune to pride. We believed ourselves invincible, eternal, beyond the reach of any threat. The images darkened. Taman saw something emerging from the void between. Galaxies, a darkness that seemed to consume light itself. Where it touched, stars went out, planets crumbled, and even the Dragonborn's incredible will faltered. The void hunger, Sora said, her voice heavy with old grief. An ancient force that feeds on consciousness itself. It seeks to reduce all awareness, all will, all determination to nothing. Our physical forms could not stand against it, Kande explained. So we made the ultimate sacrifice. We abandoned our bodies and became pure will, pure determination. In this form, we could resist the void hunger, but we could no longer interact with the physical world. The images showed the transformation. Taman watched as the Dragonborn released their physical forms, becoming beings of golden light that retreated to hidden places like this hall. We have existed in this state for millennia, Kande said. Watching, waiting, searching for a species that could carry our legacy forward. Many showed promise, but all were limited by their nature. The Vorthek can only channel energy, Sora added. The Hive Collective can only share thoughts. The Luminar Coalition can only manipulate matter. Each species has great abilities, but they are bound by those abilities. But humans, Kande said, and his voice carried hope like sunrise, humans are different. You have no natural limitations because you have no natural abilities. You are blank slates, capable of becoming anything. Taman felt a chill run down his spine. You want to possess us? Not possess, Sora said quickly. Partner. We cannot return to physical form, but we can share our knowledge, our understanding, our techniques. A human who learns our ways does. Not become Dragonborn. They become something new. Something that has never existed before, like Haiyan Wu. Haiyan Wu is our first success, Kande confirmed. But he was a child when he came to us, his mind still forming. You are the first adult human to accept our partnership willingly, with full understanding of what it means. The images around them changed again. Taman saw the current galaxy, with its wars and conflicts and casual cruelty. Then he saw the same galaxy under threat from the returning void hunger, stars going dark one by one. It is waking, Sora said. The void hunger has slept for thousands of years, but the increased activity in the galaxy has begun to stir it. We estimate it will fully wake within a century. And when it does, the current galactic powers will be helpless, Kande added. Their technology, their armies, their greatest weapons, all will be useless against something that devours consciousness itself. Tamin studied the images of the approaching darkness, but humans can stop it. Humans who understand their true nature can resist it, Sora said. Your species' greatest strength is not any single ability, but your refusal to accept that anything is impossible. The void hunger feeds on despair, on the belief that defeat is inevitable. Humans are immune to that despair. Some humans, Kande corrected, those who have awakened to their potential. Those who have learned to make their will into reality. How many would we need? Taman asked. Not many, Sora replied. A few hundred, perhaps 1,000? Humans who have learned our ways, who understand that they are not limited by what others expect of them. Such humans could become focal points of resistance, rally points for the entire galaxy. Taemin looked around the hall at the golden figures watching him. And you think I can help find them? We think you can help awaken them, Conde said. There are humans throughout the galaxy who possess the spark, who have the potential. But they have been told they are powerless for so long that they believe it. They need to see what they truly are. Like you did in the arena, so Ra added. When you stopped fighting like someone who expected to lose, you became something magnificent. Other humans need to see that transformation is possible. The images shifted one final time. Taemin saw himself standing before groups of humans across the galaxy, teaching them, showing them, helping them discover their own inner fire. He saw human colonies defending themselves against impossible odds. He saw human explorers venturing into the unknown without fear. The galaxy has been underestimating humanity, Sora said. But more importantly, humanity has been underestimating itself. That must change before the void hunger fully awakens. Will you help us? Conde asked. Tae-Min thought about the cantina, about Vex's mocking laughter, about all the times he had been dismissed and ignored. Then he thought about the fire burning inside him, stronger now than ever before. Yes, he said. But not just to save the galaxy, to show them all what humans really are. Sora smiled, and the golden figures around them began to glow brighter. Then let us begin your real education, my equal. There is much to learn, and the first lesson is this: you are not powerless. You never were. You are human, and that is the most powerful thing you can be. The Hall of Memory resonated with approval, the crystalline walls singing with harmonics that spoke of hope, determination, and the unbreakable human spirit that would not accept defeat. Taemin felt the fire inside him burn brighter than ever before, and he knew that everything was about to change. 6 months had passed since Taemin's arrival on Drakmor Prime. The cantina where he had once sat alone and mocked seemed like a memory from someone else's life. He stood now in the palace's command center, watching holographic displays that showed human settlements across the galaxy. The response has been better than we hoped, Sora said, joining him at the central display. Word is spreading through the human communities. They are beginning to remember what they are capable of. Taemin studied the reports flowing across the screens. On Kepler Station, a human maintenance worker named Mi-young had successfully defended the facility against pirate raiders using nothing but clever engineering and unbreakable determination. The Luminar Coalition supervisors were calling it impossible, but the security footage was clear on the mining world of Titan's Edge. A human transport pilot named Dong Hyen had navigated his ship through a solar storm that should have destroyed any vessel. When asked how he had done it, he had simply said he refused to let his passengers die. These were not isolated incidents. Across the galaxy, humans were beginning to push back against the limitations others had placed on them. They were not gaining supernatural powers or magical abilities. They were simply remembering that being human was enough. The other species are starting to take notice, Hyun-woo reported from his station. The Vorthic Empire has issued new contracts, specifically requesting human mercenaries. The Hive Collective is offering research positions to human scientists. Even the Luminar Coalition is reconsidering their policies. Fear, Sora said with satisfaction. They are beginning to fear what they do not understand. Good. Fear will make them cautious, and caution will buy us time. Taemin moved to another display showing the edge of the galaxy. The readings there made his stomach tighten. Dark energy signatures were growing stronger, pulsing with malevolent purpose. How long do we have? He asked. 50 years, perhaps less, Sora replied, following his gaze. The void hunger stirs more each day. Soon it will begin sending scouts, testing the galaxy's defenses. Will we be ready? Sora placed her hand on his shoulder. The gesture had become familiar over the months of training, a reminder of the partnership they had forged. That depends on what you choose to do next, she said. Tae-Min turned to face her. What do you mean? Your education here is complete, Sora explained. You understand your true nature, you have learned to make your will into reality, and you have seen what the galaxy faces. Now you must decide how to use that knowledge. She gestured to the displays around them. You could stay here, safe on Drakmor Prime, and help us prepare defenses. You could become my general, my second in command, and live in comfort while others face the coming storm. Or, Taemin prompted. Or you could do what I believe you were meant to do, Sora said. You could return to the galaxy as my equal, not my subordinate. You could find the humans with potential and awaken them to their true nature. You could show the galaxy that humanity is not weak, not powerless, not inferior. Taemin looked at the reports again. Mi-young on Kepler Station, working as a maintenance technician despite having advanced degrees in engineering. Dong-Hyeon on Titan's Edge, flying cargo runs when he could be commanding his own fleet. Hundreds of other humans across the galaxy, accepting lesser roles because they had been told they were lesser beings. They deserve better, he said quietly. They deserve the truth, Sora agreed. But giving them that truth will be dangerous. The established powers will not welcome change. They prefer humans to remain underestimated and overlooked. Let them try to stop me, Taemin said, feeling the fire inside him burn brighter. Sora smiled. There is the human determination I have come to cherish. Very well, my equal. If you choose this path, you will not go alone. She led him to the palace's launching bays, where a ship unlike any he had seen waited for him. It was sleek and powerful, but more than that, it felt alive in the same way the dragonborn fighters did. This vessel was grown rather than built, Sora explained. It will respond to your will as much as your commands. It is armed not just with weapons, but with the knowledge and wisdom of my people. Han Wu appeared beside them, carrying a crystal tablet that glowed with inner light. The locations of every human settlement in the galaxy, he said, handing it to Taemin. Start with the ones showing the most potential. You're not coming with me? Taemin asked. My place is here, helping to prepare the defenses, Hyung Woo replied. But I will be watching, and when the time comes, I will stand beside you again. So Ra moved to stand directly in front of Taemin. For a moment, she looked not like the ancient dragon queen, but like someone saying goodbye to a dear friend. Remember what you have learned, she said. You are not powerless. You never were. You are human, and that is the most magnificent thing you can be. What about you? Taemin asked. What will you do? I will continue what I have always done, Sora replied. I will wait and watch and prepare. But now I will also hope, because for the first time in millennia, I believe the galaxy has a chance. Taemin boarded the ship, feeling its systems respond to his presence. The vessel was more than technology. It was a partnership between dragonborn wisdom and human determination. As he settled into the pilot's seat, he thought about his destination. Mi-young on Kepler Station seemed like a good place to start. A brilliant engineer trapped in a maintenance job, probably believing she wasn't good enough for anything better. He would show her otherwise. The ship launched from Drakmor Prime with silent grace. As Taemin set course for Kepler Station, he opened a communication channel to Sora. Thank you, he said simply. Thank you, my equal, she replied. Now go show the galaxy what humans really are. Taemin smiled and engaged the hyperdrive. Behind him, Drakmor Prime faded into starlight. Ahead of him lay a galaxy full of humans who had forgotten their own strength. He would remind them 6 hours later. Taemin's ship dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler Station. The massive space facility hung in orbit around a gas giant, its lights twinkling like scattered stars. Somewhere inside, Mi-young was probably crawling through maintenance shafts, fixing problems that the station's alien engineers couldn't solve, just like he used to do. Tae-min requested docking permission and was assigned to a cargo bay. As his ship settled onto the landing platform, he felt the fire inside him burning steady and strong. The Dragon Queen had called him her equal. Now it was time to show the galaxy that all humans deserved that same recognition. The cantina, where he had once been mocked, seemed very far away indeed. And that was exactly where it belonged in the past, where all the old limitations and false beliefs would soon join it. Tay-Min stepped off his ship and walked into the station. Somewhere nearby, another human was about to discover what they truly were, and the galaxy would never be the same.